Hello, everyone. I'm here today to talk very quickly about Bluecap and its features. You've been requesting a very quick overview of the product, 5 minutes or less, and here it is. So, what Bluecap is essentially a conversational intelligence platform, and it derives all sorts of insights based on your conversations that you're having, both in real life and online. I guess that's both real life, but real life to us lately has been the digital space. So when you first log into Bluecap, what you're going to see is an overview of all the things that you might need to be aware of today. So you're going to see your top meetings, why it's important to you, how the temperature or weather might affect your day. As we're going back into the real world space, being cold or wet is detrimental to your meetings. As we scroll through here, you can see possible important or pressing matters that you haven't dealt with yet. And this is all created contextually from conversations you've had in the past. So if there's a thing you should have done, a person you should have followed up with, that isn't a pressing matter for you. In the similar stream to that, you also have your risks and opportunities. And again, our artificial intelligence has gone through to give you an analysis of why these are important and to, put it to your attention when you need it to be. We also have the first of many kind of self-coaching tools that you're greeted with, which is your performance overview. And it's looking at 5 points that you should be aware of. And that's your sentiment. How, are you being perceived by others? Your engagement. Are you actually engaging with the people you're talking with? Culture. Are you actually, being progressive in your speech, being conscious of others, letting everybody have their turn at the table? Your tone. Are you talking to people too aggressively, too passively? And attendance. Are you even showing up? And, this is color coded. So, this is showing you week over week how you've done. Red being today, blue being previously. As we go on in the Bluecap dashboard, we also have a overview of all your meetings, which you can drill down into. We can see what we've missed. Oh, it seems me and Fawad I've missed a few of Fawad's meetings this week. Sorry, Fawad. But I can also see for the meetings I did show up to, how did people respond to me this week? So I have 26 total contacts here, brand new. 13 saw my messages very positive. They were very receptive to it. 3 were neutral, so they were just, absorbing the information. I had 1 negative interaction and 1 very negative interaction. I can go through here and see who the very negative were. Oh, Michelle. I apologize, Michelle. And then we have this chart here, which kind of gives us the sentiment over time. And this is our sentiment as we're, what we're putting out, how the AI perceives how you are presenting, overlaid on top of your sentiment and your participation rate. One anecdote we like to point out here is on days when you have a lot of meetings, it seems that the average person actually puts out a lower sentiment and a lower participation rate, which kind of goes without saying. Uh, Tedious days, tedious outcomes. And here is what happens after the meeting. So once Bluecap's listened intently and kind of gotten the feel for the entire conversation, it outputs a transcript, very highly accurate. It also writes an executive summary of what you've just talked about, and as if a human had written it, as if you had an executive assistant write it. It also kind of generates key takeaways from that meeting. So important people, important places, things, times, things you need to do, things you need to be aware of. For example, here we do have a consulting business as well, and this is a little bit of a conversation about our software app we're working on. And so we're looking at things like, some access stuff, employee IDs and how they relate in the database table. So lots of technical information was given in this meeting. And, Bluecap has extracted the most important parts of the conversation. Wherever there was a shift, wherever there was an important note, it has extracted it and, gives me a key takeaway. I've also got the video recording, but I've also got these tags that go along with it. And this is things that kind of repeated throughout the conversation that were important. And not only were they important, but there's a sentiment attached to it. And that sentiment isn't just, I said something in a very negative tone. It's looking at the context of what was said and deriving if that was a negative context or a positive context. So, we were talking about timestamps here. And I believe the outcome of this timestamp conversation was that, the timestamps are kind of bonkers in this application. Um, what it does when I click on it as well is it highlights the parts in the conversation in the transcript where we mention it so I can get the context around it. It also takes the video to the appropriate point. So if I'm trying to figure out why timestamps was negative, I can do that very quickly. Which could be a tedious task previously. And finally, on the meeting summary page, we get the overall analytics of our participants. So, what was the overall sentiment and everyone walked away with? There were some difficulties in this as it was a troubleshooting meeting. So, at points, our friend Chuck here was a little bit out of sorts with some of it, but it was mostly because some things are confusing in this very legacy app that we were talking about. You can see how we participated. Most of the questions were being directed at me, being the subject matter expertise on this. So you can see I talked about 30% of the time. Marco talked about 58% of the time, and that makes sense because he had a lot of questions. And, what's great about Bluecap is its overall ethos in that we're trying to reduce the amount of labor it takes to do a meeting. So what's the most laborious part of a meeting? Entering your CRM data, which Bluecap does for you automatically. So as you meet people, they are automatically entered into your CRM. And what you get when you go to that CRM page is an overview of who these people are. So I get an AI insight that's basically looking at all the conversations I've had with our friend Marco here. And kind of telling me who he is and what his objectives are with us. And this is great to either catch up on an old contact you've kind of, forgotten the exact details of, or if you have to hand this off to a colleague and they have no idea what's going on, they can quickly go here and see, this is the relationship and these are the top objectives that Marco has with me currently. I can also see how the previous conversations have gone in terms of engagement, in terms of sentiment, and, how have they talked about, things like our competitors, our products, and other topics. So I can see here note taking came up about 5 times and we were talking very neutrally about it. I can also quickly at a glance see previous meetings that I've held, and I can get the overview of, what the key takeaways were and what the summary was, which is very handy again in the situation where I have to hand this off to a colleague and they need to very quickly get acquainted with this contact. Now, this CRM system doesn't act in a bubble. It actually integrates with all your favorites. Currently, Zoho is out, but we're pushing out a HubSpot and Salesforce integration very shortly. So what does that look like once it's in the CRM? Well, you can export your fields and all that good stuff, but you can also get all the Bluecap meetings in the CRM itself. So you're looking at Zoho CRM right now. If I look at Bluecap meetings, I can see, the meeting titles, the engagement score, the sentiment of this contact, all the important topics we talked about, what products we talked about. So as I mentioned, we talked about notes. And I can get a feel for how this has gone right in my CRM workflow. And, of course, from here, you can kind of continue on with everything that your CRM would normally do. And you know what? I always forget this really handy feature as well. If we go back to the meeting detail page, say I wanted to tell Marco and Chuck, it was a great meeting. Here are my key takeaways from this. I can actually generate an email right from here that kind of says everything you need to. As we all know, creating content can be the hardest thing on the web, and emails is the most common piece of content that everyone actually creates. So it's great to have a starting point, and you can see here we can just edit things that aren't quite the way we want them. We can add or remove things, and it's gone through and basically given the kind of overview you would as a human being of this conversation, but all done through AI, which is very handy. And this sends out as you. It doesn't say that it's like from Bluecap or anything. It looks like you've sent this email. And, on an average day, I fool a lot of people with this. They think I wrote it and they thank me very dearly for it. And even though I haven't done very much other than review it. And, there's so much more to Bluecap. We also have, teams metrics where you can actually go in and see how your teams are doing. So if you're a manager of some sort or a business owner, this is great to see actually how your teams are going in terms of, their sentiment, their engagement. What are they talking about? When are they talking? How much are they talking? So the durations, are they talking about my competitors? What are people saying about my competitors? Is it good? Is it bad? And same goes for your products and sentiment. and all those other details. And we can actually drill down on individuals as well to see how they're doing specifically. We also have a task manager integrated, your typical Kanban board based card system, and deals, which works very similarly. Now, this was the very, very, very high level of Bluecap. It does so much and more. Please get in touch with us if you have any questions. Always available through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all the channels you'd expect. Thanks.